Hey guys, Kimmy Vapes here, and today I'm going to be talking about batteries. Specifically, I'm going to be talking about Efan batteries, a fairly new company, or at least new to me, that has come out of China developing batteries and battery chargers, and they've reached out to the vaping community to market their batteries and their chargers. So anytime a battery company reaches out to our community, we get highly skeptical, and for good reasons. We've had many issues with batteries being overrated, inaccurately rated, flat out fakes or false information on the batteries. So it's really important that we look at batteries in the vaping industry with a very close eye. And today that's kind of what I'm going to attempt to do. So this is going to be a review / informational video about Efan batteries. Now all of my opinions are of my own and they are completely unbiased. I would also like to thank Battery Mooch, who I did consult during this review and my testing of these batteries. We kind of went back and forth and I shared information with him and had a lot of questions for him since, let's be honest guys, I am not a battery tester. I don't have any actual equipment to test batteries. The only equipment that I have to test batteries are my devices that I use the batteries in, which surprisingly enough, you can tell a lot about batteries just with your very own vaping device. So that's kind of what I did, as well as I did consult Battery Mooch, who does have all of the proper knowledge and testing equipment to test these sorts of batteries. So let's get right into it. First thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go and list off each kind of battery that they sent me, what I found with that battery, and then I'll go ahead and wrap it up in the end with all of the summarizing of my thoughts on the Efan batteries. So the first battery that I'm going to be talking about today is Efan's 21700 battery. Now this battery is in a blue wrapper, and on the wrapper it says it's a 3750 milliamp hour battery with a CDR, which is your continuous discharge rate, of 30 amps and then a max pulse rating of 40 amps. So here are some thoughts I have on just their packaging, their wrapper, and their claimed ratings on their batteries. So first thing is that CDR is what's important. Now on these batteries, on the wrapper themselves, the 40 amp is in bold, and then it's in much smaller fine print, the CDR. I wish they would flip that, because CDR is what is important for vapors. The continuous discharge rate is what we go by when we calculate Ohm's law. When we're using Ohm's law to calculate the resistance of our coils and to make sure that we're not overtaxing our batteries, we need the CDR. So I really would have liked to see the CDR in bold. Next, I want to talk about how batteries often perform horribly at their max pulse rate. So while Efan can argue that this battery can absolutely be 40 amp pulsed, sometimes they perform horribly, and it also usually cuts down on the longevity and the life cycle of the battery. You can often damage your battery cells by continually using them at the pulse rating and not at the continuous discharge rating. So for me, that's a little bit of a concern here with me. The next thing I want to point out about the blue wrap 21700s is these have been rated by Battery Mooch, and he rated them slightly lower than what Efan rated them, and that rating was given a 25 amp continuous discharge rating. So just be aware, if you pick up these batteries, whether you're using them in a regulated device or a mechanical device, especially if you guys are using these batteries in an unregulated or mechanical device, Battery Mooch has suggested the CDR on these are 25 amps. Now let's go into the next set of batteries that Efan sent me, and that is going to be the yellow wrapped Efan 2700 batteries. Now on the yellow wrapper, it does say that this is a 3100 milliamp hour battery with a 30 amp CDR and a 40 amp max pulse rating. So again, I want to reiterate that batteries often perform horribly at their max ratings and often do damage and shorten the lifespan of batteries. According to Mooch, I did speak with Mooch, and according to Mooch, there is no 2700 battery with a true rating over 30 amps. So keep that in mind when you're looking at that big 40 amp rating on the battery. Anytime you're out there shopping for batteries, whether it be Efan or any other brand, just know that there is no true 40 amp CDR. So whenever you look at a battery and you see 40 amps on it, know that that's most likely a pulse rating and not the CDR. These batteries are currently being tested by Battery Mooch. Now, the next batteries I'm going to talk about are probably my favorite batteries from Efan. I have been using them the most just because they have been performing the best for me. And I'll go ahead and go over the information on the box just like others. This is the Efan 18650 blue wrapper. On the wrapper, it says this is a 3100 milliamp hour battery with a CDR of 28 amps and a max pulse of 40 amps. I really hate the max 40 amp pulse. Come on, Efan. Bring that down. Get rid of that. We really don't want max pulse ratings for vaping. If you're going to be selling these to flashlight owners and stuff like that, I don't care. But if you're selling them to vapors and you're marketing these batteries for vapors, get rid of the 40 amp pulse rating, because realistically, if we use these batteries at that amperage, we're going to be burning through batteries very quickly because they just don't perform that well at 40 amps. Now, I will say the 28 amp rating is probably pretty close there. Now, I did speak with Mooch about these batteries, and here's what Mooch had to say. There is no 3000 milliamp hour 18650 with a true rating over 20 amps, and there is no over 3000 milliamp hour 18650 with a true rating over 10 amps. So most likely this is a 3000 milliamp hour battery and not a 3100 milliamp hour battery, and most likely the true rating on it is 20 amps. Now, they did rate this a bit higher at 28 amp CDR, but I will say I kind of agree with Mooch, and in just my use of it, I found that 20 amps, it performs really well when I'm not trying to push the battery past 20 amps. As I said earlier, your device can tell you a lot about the batteries that you're using. Well, some devices can. I have the Osmotis Lustro here, and one of the great things about the Osmotis chipset is that they show you current and active battery voltage drop, or battery sag as we call it. So when I press my fire button and I'm vaping on the device, I have an active readout on the battery bar of how much my voltage is dropping every time I pulse that button. The higher the wattage that I use, the more voltage drop and the more battery sag that I get. And the reason for that is because I'm taxing my batteries. I'm really putting them through the ringer. If I lower my wattage, I'm actually going and drawing less amps from my battery, and therefore the battery is able to perform more consistently and more stable, thus giving me a more powerful, enjoyable vape experience. So the last batteries that I'm going to talk about today are the 18650 green wrapper, and on the wrapper they state they are a 3500 milliamp hour battery with a CDR of 17 amps and a max pulse of 25 amps. And according to Mooch, an accurate 3500 milliamp hour battery cannot be over 10 amps and likely might be much lower. And again, I tested these batteries in my regulated Lustro mod, and I found that these did perform really badly at high wattages. Now, when I went ahead and I put a much higher resistance atomizer on my device and I was vaping it at around 20 watts, I did find that these performed really well, as well as I got a lot of battery life, which goes back to the milliamp hours. So it's probably accurate milliamp hours, but the amps are overrated. It's probably only a 10 amp battery. In summary, I do not advise using any of these batteries in an unregulated or mechanical single device until their true ratings have been accurately tested by Battery Mooch. Additionally, these batteries are perfectly suitable for use in regulated devices, with the added caution of knowing that these batteries may be slightly overrated. I suggest using Battery Mooch's rule of thumb for calculating how much wattage you should use based on the specs of the batteries. So that calculation is taking the amps of the batteries, multiply that by 3, and that equals your wattage that you should be using. So for example, a 20 amp battery multiplied by 3 is going to be 60 watts of power. If you're using a dual battery mod, go ahead and multiply that by 2. So rather than being 60 watts of power that you can safely and get a good performance of, it would be 120 watts of power. So just keep that in mind if you guys are out there with regulated devices and you think that these laws and battery safety things don't apply to you because you're using a regulated mod. Know that they do still apply, although somewhat differently, and yes, there are safety protections that are usually built into the mod. Like usually a lot of mods have like a 40 amp cutoff, so it won't allow you to pulse that battery higher than 40 amps. But even pulsing at 40 amps can be quite dangerous and tough on a battery if it's not meant to be pulsed at 40 amps. I want to personally thank Battery Mooch for all of the help and the information that he provided me while I was doing this testing and review. I do want to thank Efan for sending me their batteries and their chargers and giving me a chance to talk about batteries on my channel, because as always, you guys, battery safety is really important, and understanding the batteries that you're using in your devices and how they apply is really important as well. And if you want to know more information on batteries, I strongly urge you guys to go follow Battery Mooch. He has a YouTube channel where he often puts out informational videos regarding batteries and how we use them in vaping devices. Additionally, he also has an Instagram, a Twitter, and a Patreon. Mooch does all of these battery testings for vapors on Patreon, so it's really important that we as a community support him. So if you want to do that, you can definitely go find him on Patreon as well. All of the links will be down in the description of this video. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, give it a thumbs up. If you're not already, click that subscribe button, and if you are, don't forget to hit the little notification bell icon so you get notified the next time I upload a video. Thank you guys so much for watching. Bye-bye.